Well, Brendan, as of course we head rapidly, hurtling at high speed, I'm sure that wouldn't be allowed under new eco rules, to COP26 and the summit that starts this weekend. We're being told by all and sundry how much we need to change our lives. We've had Joanna Lumley talking about wartime rationing. Sir David Attenborough is in Greenwich today talking about his ship, named after him, actually named by the people as Boaty McBoatface, but they rejected that, and talking about the need for us to do more on climate change. And we've had the UK's chief scientific advisor, Sir Patrick Vallance, when he's not telling us how to live our lives as a result of COVID. He's saying we need to change our diet and our flying habits to tackle climate change as well. I wonder if any of these people themselves are going to make any changes in their lives, or is it just us that have to do that?
It's always just us, isn't it? It's always the little people. I mean, when you look at someone like Joanna Lumley, I actually quite like Joanna
Me
Lumley as it
too.
happens. But, she has traveled to every corner of the globe. She has had a very lucky life. She makes all these travel programs. And then she wants us to ration things like travel, ration things like meat and how we eat and everything else. There's a lot of hypocrisy in it. And, increasingly, the environmentalist movement looks like a bunch of very well off, well connected people telling the plebs how to live and always telling us to learn to live with more, less meat, less fun, less flying, less driving. It really has become a movement demanding that ordinary people rein in their lives, live with less, and have this kind of punishing existence. And I hope people start to push back against that.
Yeah, well, indeed, it's very interesting. There was a recent poll that suggested once you exclude the don't knows, I think with quite a lot of those, that an awful lot of people, the majority, would like to have a referendum on the net zero targets, because this basically all came about out of the blue, didn't it? This was just something that some, eco warriors were demanding. Theresa May, pushed it through into law, this net zero target, after 90 minutes of debate. We say debate. I mean, it wasn't really a debate. It was just, yes, isn't this a good idea, from a bunch of MPs? And there it is. It stuck. It was in everyone's manifesto. We're all stuck with it. But I don't remember ever agreeing to any of this stuff.
No, one of the most frustrating things about modern politics is that whatever party you vote for, you end up with the Green Party. They're all
Yeah.
Greens now. They're all obsessed with net zero. I think there should be a referendum on net zero because this would be such a drastic upheaval to people's lives. It would cost an absolute fortune, billions and billions of pounds to get to net zero. It could threaten certain jobs. It could create difficulties for people. We should have a say on this. We should have a say on whether society should be overhauled to such an extent that everything gets
Yeah.
focused on how to reduce carbon
Well, indeed.
emissions
Well,
rather than on how to improve people's
Well,
lives.
exactly, and we're told that those things aren't actually mutually exclusive, but they always seem to end up being, when it comes to, no, you can't have that car, you have to have this car. No, you can't heat your home to a reasonable standard cheaply on a gas boiler. You have to have a more expensive, water pump, which won't heat it. As far as I can tell, if it doesn't go over 20 degrees, it ain't heating, as far as I'm concerned. I'm a 23-degree girl, I'm afraid. But again, we're constantly told there isn't this force between these two things. You don't have to choose either or. And yet the hair shirt brigade seems to constantly be telling us, you have, you say, you have to fly less. We'll tax people flying, and limit the number of flights you can take without tax, which again will mean, as we've seen in recent years, it is the very rich who will be able to continue to live their lives, getting on their private jets. The EU also concerned about net zero. No extra taxes for private jets, though, you'll note. And they continue to live the life that they want to lead. They'll be able to afford meat no matter what the price of the meat, and to get on a plane no matter what the price of the plane ticket. But they are expecting the rest of us to have much smaller lives, and not just here in the Western world, but
Mm.
also people in far poorer countries they've yet to develop, and saying, sorry, you missed the boat. We've had an industrial revolution. You can't.
Exactly. I mean, that's the most repugnant thing about climate change alarmism at the moment. It cares so little for the fact that 3 billion people still live in extreme poverty, that there are vast swathes of the world that have not developed yet, not progressed sufficiently, and they want to be like London and New York, but they can't do it because they don't have the resources. In a time like that, to put the emphasis on shrinking economic growth, shrinking the human footprint, lowering how much people can have and how much we can develop, I think is catastrophically immoral and really, really irresponsible. I think lots of people in the West and probably around the world too, are sick of being lectured
Yeah.
by people like Prince Charles and Prince Harry and John Kerry, and people who live the most luxurious lives you can imagine, who fly around in private jets, who literally live in palaces, and who are telling the rest of us, switch off your heaters, don't go on holiday more than once a year, don't drive too much. It's become a neo-aristocratic movement telling the little people how to live, and people, I think, have had enough.
Oh, they really have. Just finally, I must ask you about something else I think people have had enough about, which is this constant, we called it wokeism. It's not. It's just rewriting of historyism. Imperial College London, one of our finest universities in this country, one of the finest universities in the world indeed, they've been told to remove a bust of slavery abolitionist Thomas Henry Huxley because he might now be called a racist following a review into their colonial links. They've recommended that he's a 19th century biologist, dubbed Darwin's bulldog, even though he was someone who campaigned against slavery. They think that he wouldn't really pass muster in 2021 and they need to remove the bust. This has gone beyond a joke.
Completely beyond a joke. They've gone way too far now. Huxley, as you say, was an abolitionist. He was an incredibly important scientist. He popularized the idea of evolution. That's why it's called Darwin's bulldog. He reformed schools to make them more fair and to have so more people would have access to education. He did a lot of good stuff. He has his place in history justifiably. The idea that we would rip him down because he had some views that we don't like today, which is true of most people who existed before, I don't know, 1963 or something. That is ridiculous to tear someone down for that kind of thing, even though they made such an enormous contribution to science and history. And we really have to stop this tearing down of history.
It's always academic pygmies who want to do it as well, isn't it, Brendan?